Hello, hello. This is Kristina Mandakiani, co-founder of Mindvalley and the host of Mindvalley Book Club. And I'm back from my journeys and I'm back to the office and back to my interviews. I'm very excited about that because, it's really wonderful to read a book a week. And I think it's good not just for your, for learning, which is obvious, but it's also good for your mental health and emotional well-being. So I'm really glad to be back to this routine, although I have to confess that traveling is also kind of fun. I have a guest today, James Lawrence. Welcome, James, to Mind Valley Book Club.
Hello, and thank you, Christina. Thrilled to be here.
I'm really excited to meet you well, not quite real life, but in
Hmm.
person after reading the book. And today's book, I'm going to do it like this nowadays. Today's book is Iron Hope. And yes, and that's one of the few books that has actually reached me far away in Estonia, and I have it on paper, it's such a blessing. I love reading books on paper. But before we go into the book, and we're going to talk about the book, obviously, not about my reading habits, I want to introduce my guest a little better. So I guess the term which was a bit new for me was that James is an extreme endurance athlete. Of course, I imagined that a lot of sports requires extreme endurance, but actually reading the book, I understood that it is beyond what we understand when we talk about extreme endurance. Also, James has a few Guinness World Records. His first one was when he did 30 triathlons, or in layman's terms, it's the Ironman in essence,
Ironman.
in
Yep.
1 year in 11 countries. Then that wasn't enough, so James did 50 triathlons in 50 days in 50 states in US. So not only a triathlon per day for 50 days, but also traveling in between. But that was also not enough because the book is focused on the probably the greatest endeavor, which was 100 triathlons in 100 days, consecutive days, without any breaks, without any holidays, all the way from day one to day 100. I do not remember the amount of thousands of miles that James traveled, both
14,000.
14,000 miles of movement in total. That
Hmm.
is swimming, biking, and running, or brisk walking in some days.
Hmm.
So and apart from that, James has done other very intense marathons well, marathon not as in the distance, but marathons in terms of, like, for example, riding his bike up Mount Kilimanjaro, or doing the extreme triathlon in Norway, which is apparently like Ironman, but way worse. So a lot of things like that. So that kind of gives them the idea to what it means to be an extreme endurance athlete. But in addition to that, he's also a wonderful speaker, has spoken a lot on stage, and an author of the book, and a husband and a father of 5 wonderful children. Did I leave out something which is very important? And also, you're a world traveler that I've discovered from conversation.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I've been blessed to speak in over 50 countries. I've got those five amazing children. One thing you may not know is in July, we are going to be grandparents for the first time.
Oh,
And
wow.
so maybe it'll be Iron Grandpa from now on. But it's just an amazing. And then we have two documentaries that are on Amazon Prime and Netflix. One was from the 50 and one's from the 100.
So, with all that said, I'm really, really grateful that you came to Mind Valley Book Club and you found time to meet with us, with me, and with those people who are online. I'm really sorry we had a mess up with the time, but whoever made it, congratulations. Other people will be watching it in recording. And if you're watching it in recording, please leave your comments and your love and your emojis under the video because, in our days, sometimes distance and time don't really matter. So now to your book. Of course, I have a lot of questions, but I guess I'll ask the first question, which is not strictly speaking book related. Why extreme endurance sports? Because I know you started from a little more regular things, like I think you were wrestling and you were a champion, in fact, in your region. So why extreme endurance? Because it's not just sports, it's actually way beyond what we think when we talk about athletes.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I was big into a lot of sports, really gravitated to wrestling, like you said, and just had a great run. Went undefeated my senior year, won the championship, which was so fun to do. And then I moved to the States, found my wife, and was seeking that American dream. And I was an entrepreneur and started a mortgage company, ended up losing everything in the '08 economic crash. And trust me when I say you remember the moment that they knock on your door and take away your home. And at that time in my life, I had five little kids and we hit rock bottom. And it was time to reinvent ourselves. And I had found triathlon as an outlet as an adult. And my wife and I got into it together. In fact, it started with a 4 mile fun run that my wife, or sorry, that I struggled through. And my wife called me pathetic and then signed me up for an upcoming marathon. And that kind of kicked off the whole journey. And I fell in love with the sport and the community. I loved pushing myself mentally. And you think of triathlon, it's like swim, bike, run. But really, it's swim, bike, run, nutrition, mindset, discipline, strength training. And so there was like this complexity behind it. And I just fell in love with trying to figure out all the nuances. And then as we increased the distances and the challenges, I just kept wondering, what is the human body and mind truly capable of? Because we instill these limits on ourselves, and it just put us on this insane journey of 15 plus years of wild challenges. And one that we didn't mention, I see someone in the chat that's from Greece. We ran 250 miles across Greece and reenacted that 300 warrior march from Thermopylae to Acropolis. And that was just an incredible experience too. And so not only are we pushing endurance, we get to have amazing experiences with a lot of other people and push boundaries.
So, and this book, so for people who haven't read that book yet, Marsha is going to leave actually a link where you can get the book. I have to say that, of course, it uncovers the story of James and especially this 100 days, well, 100 triathlons in 100 days challenge. But it's not just about that. In fact, that story is not even told in a chronological order, strictly speaking, because
Mhm.
this book is about endurance. It's about, well, Iron Hope, in essence, is about life skills which you will need to succeed in life, to persevere, to endure, to go for your dreams, and about quite a lot. So the book has those black boxes that I know Masha specifically loved, and I also love them too. But she said, "Oh, I love the black boxes" when I started reading the book, which actually summarize some of the learnings. So this book is, I would say that the triathlon is the storytelling of the book, but the book is about life because it is applicable not just for sports, obviously, it's applicable to your business if you're a business person, or maybe to some other areas in life where you struggle. So I'm a person who has very complicated relationship with sports, and I can tell you, it is literally about life. I'm not going to talk about my relationship with sports. What I want to ask is, I realized with surprise that doing these challenges is actually a huge teamwork, and you had a lot of people who were helping you both at home and while you were doing these distances, including some people who are actually doing parts of the distance with you. So how about your family? Are they also the type of people who have extreme endurance? And if so, in which areas do they express this quality?
Yeah, great question. And to your point, this book has nothing to do with triathlon. It was just the modality that I chose to learn some incredible life lessons. And those black boxes are just that. It's very tangible takeaways for you to be able to input into your life. And the reason it's called Iron Hope is because we quickly realized with all the messages that were coming in, our team's willingness to suffer intentionally gives people hope on their journey if they're dealing with things like alcoholism, abuse, addiction, difficulties in their life, depression, trauma, all these things. It's been a gift to give my kids a front row seat to this adventure, and they got to participate. In fact, my oldest daughter, who's the one that's married and pregnant, is runs my entire company, and so many amazing stories along the way. And all of my kids have played a very unique role. And I have five unbelievable kids that don't want to do anything with triathlon, but just have learned what team means, what family means, what respect means, what discipline means. And they are showing up in their own capacity, in their own lives, chasing down their own passions and pursuits, which is so fun for us to support them. Um, yeah, we're just thrilled to be a family unit, and we love to say that nothing great is ever accomplished on our own. And that definitely starts with our core unit, with our family. And then there's always the extension team. Two gentlemen, like you mentioned, were with us the whole time. That we call them the wingmen in the book, and it's Casey and Aaron, remarkable individuals who have sacrificed so much to be part of this. And then it extends from there, from global people around the world coming to support us, participate with us, help us in different capacities. And so it's truly been a gift. One of the comments from one of my friends and big influencers out there, Jesse Itzler, he said, "Man, aside from the physical accomplishment and the mental showcase of toughness, what impressed me most about these campaigns was the sense of community, how
Mm,
many people came together, and really the timing of the 100 was right at the tail end of the pandemic,
mhm.
and we quickly realized we're not built to be in isolation. And this campaign was really what our community needed. And coming out of that pandemic and that isolation, and it brought people together again. And it was this massive campaign of family, team, community, and togetherness.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It does give a feeling. I mean, when you read a story of one person, it's really wonderful to actually see those recurring characters. So Lucy is
Mhm.
the oldest daughter who's running.
Yes,
Yeah, I wish her good luck with her pregnancy. I think she's about to embark on another marathon.
she is.
Now, what I want to ask is, you just mentioned that about mental and physical. I have to look for this quote because I do copy quotes for myself, but I might not find it fast enough. So I'll try to recreate it. You write about that. You know, people say that triathlons is like a part of it is physical, but most of it is mental. But then you say no, that's not true. It's actually fully on physical. Well, 100% physical, as it is 100% mental. So how do you? How do you so mental I kind of understand because in Mindvalley we talk about that, but the physical component is not. It's sometimes it has forces beyond your decision power. Like for example, when you had on day 15, you discovered those microfractures. So how do you deal with this physicality of your journey towards your goals, where sometimes things are outside your control? Because I'm sure that when you had, so for those who don't know the story, at the very beginning, actually, day 15 of the Challenge 100, James had a physical situation with his legs, which just wouldn't go away. So, so do you have any words, you know, when there are circumstances beyond what your willpower and your mental your mental preparedness are capable of solving.
Yeah, great question. And like you said, a lot of people assume that there's a percentage like, oh, your body can only go so far, and then it's your mind that takes you through, and that's true. But it has to be 100% mental and 100% physical. And then I'll throw on a bonus. I believe it has to be under this umbrella of spirituality as well. So it's kind of the trifecta, mind, body, and soul. And the reason I say it's got to be 100 and 100 is because let's just assume I'm a 400-pound individual that is obese and struggling with my health. It doesn't matter how mentally strong I am. To your point, I'm going to hit physical limitations. And then let's flip that coin and say, I'm the most physical specimen on the planet. I'm the Rock. I'm Dwayne Johnson. Um, it doesn't matter how physically fit I am if I'm mentally weak. I can't break through those moments. And so that's why it's 100 and 100. And then when you're doing something remarkable, you're going to have emotional waves and roller coasters and breakdowns. And so that's when you have to rely on a higher power in order to get you through those moments.
Mm.
There's a
The
lot of moments
magic.
on the there's a lot of moments on the 100 where I was like, I look back on it and I'm like, I don't know how we got through that. And it was the gift of a higher power that was carrying us through those moments. And then you alluded to those injuries that we had super early on. I mean, my legs were broken. I was literally waiting for the moment my leg was going to snap. Um, and and to have the courage to keep going, it's through experience. And when you look at your life, you can look to your left and go, "Oh, there's my body of work." And that's what I've done, and I can draw from those experiences. And through my experiences, I now understand that the mind is super powerful, but the body is incredibly resilient and can adapt and pivot and evolve through the things that we do. Now we have to be patient. We have to become master problem solvers. But in those moments, we have to adjust our expectations and go, okay, this is what we're dealing with. We have to slow down. What resources we have? What can my team do? What can I do? And then just that courage and that faith to take the
Hmm.
next step. And this is going to sound crazy, but on the other side of that impossible step is when your mind and body shifts to the realization that an Ironman a day becomes routine. And that's how you have to show up in your life because that change will happen. But few
Hmm.
people have the courage to take that step in the peak of pain, adversity, depression, anxiety, all these things that are weighing us down. And so it's that courage to take the step and the
Hmm.
realization that our minds and our bodies are so incredibly powerful. And I know off air, before we started, I mentioned I'm on day 10 of a water only, no food fast. And the goal is 21 days. And I'm just learning that even more intense how amazing our bodies are in terms of regeneration if we don't quit on them. And
Hmm.
we are incredible superhumans if we choose to show up.
Hmm. Well, one topic which I did notice throughout the whole book is that you did have a very supporting community the whole time. Not just
Hmm.
supporting, but also community who occasionally could take on, the high ground when you were not able to reach out for that. Did was that community crafted or or shaped or how did you create that supportive system in your life to actually go beyond what your physical limitations occasionally um, could have sabotaged your goals?
Yeah, a question I frequently get from stages, I speak to a lot of corporations and companies, and that's the question they ask is how do I assemble the right team? How do I
Yeah.
choose the elite people? Man, we're going to get a little bit of hate from this, but it starts with you standing in front of the mirror and taking accountability for who you are and where you are on your journey and you are going to attract the same level of people that you are. And so if you want to have an exceptional team around you, man, you have to be exceptional. And all of a sudden you'll start to see that you attract these people. And so we assemble my circles are very tight, but they're very elite. And then because of that, as we were out doing these campaigns, we attracted elite level type of people that wanted to be part of it. And so a great thing for people to understand, like if you want to be surrounded by greatness, you have to start to act great and be great. And all of a sudden you're going to look around and the people that aren't great, they can't keep up and
Mhm.
they're not where you're at on your journey. And all of a sudden, you're started to be surrounded by unbelievable people with the same belief system because you as a leader are leading from the front, but you're also in the trenches doing the work with them. And so it
Mhm.
becomes that really unbreakable community that was so, so special.
Do you still work with the same people now that this Challenge 100 is over? I think you did mention that your wingmen are still around.
Yeah, so when you go through something like that, and I've been with the Wingmen for over a decade now, through the 50 challenge, through the 100 challenge, and then beyond, and a lot of stuff. Anytime we do something crazy, we're like, "Are you in? You in? Yeah, we're in. Let's go." And both of them are crazy athletes as well. Aaron actually runs our entire coaching program for our athletes, and so anybody that's interested in doing triathlon
Mhm.
or on a weight loss journey or anything, we've got tons of resources for that. And then we put on a huge race here in Utah, and Casey runs that. He's still in the school system. He's a teacher,
Mhm.
which mad respect to him. He teaches second grade, and has been doing it for over 20 years. And so, yeah, I'm really still involved with these guys. And like I said, when you go through something like this, it bonds you with unbreakable chains.
Mm. So, one question which is maybe a little bit unfair of me because it's not within the topic of the book, but there is one person in your life with whom you have been from a very young age before you got embarked onto this journey, which is well, I'm talking about your wife. You
Mm.
were quite young when you married, and you do talk about her and your relationship, not so much about Sunny, but about your relationship with her. In fact, this is a sub theme in the book. uh, so was she that person from the start? Was that you recognized each other, or did you grow together, or was she maybe you said she was the one who said, "Hey, you pathetic," after your first fun run? So how did that happen that you matched so well now, even I don't know, 20 something years later?
Yeah, we're celebrating 25 years of marriage. She was 19 years old when we met. I was 24. It was very fast love, and it's never stopped. But it's crazy because we are complete opposites, just total opposites. But I think that's why it works so brilliantly. Like we disagree on everything, and have different viewpoints and perspectives. But I think that's the beauty in it. And we've
Mhm.
literally grown up together. You can imagine, I'm almost 50, and so you can imagine the change from 24 to 49. That's 25 years. And none of this happens without her. She saved the 50 campaign. She's been the ultimate cheerleader support system. Just the most incredible woman. The greatness that I see in my kids is all her fault. She has done an unbelievable job. Her dream, she's like, I just want to be a mother. And now she's like, I now want to be a grandmother. And so
Mhm.
it's been remarkable for us to grow up together, to create these bonds. We hit rock bottom together. We've had so many experiences of just of life. And like you said, we grew up together. We're perfect for each other. And we're hoping for 25 smooth more years.
So another
Oh,
question that I want,
real quick.
yeah.
A lot of people have heard my story, and the struggles and whatnot we went. We just finished writing the script for a feature film, and it's from Sunny's perspective.
Oh, wow.
And so it's going to be this really cool, strong, powerful woman movement. And so if anybody's listening and you're a producer and you want to go down this journey with us, reach out to us.
Yeah, that's actually so wonderful because I did have on the back of my mind this question about people who are in your team and who are actually absolutely remarkable, and then you are the person in the limelight. It's very, I think sometimes we forget to talk about the people who are our supporters. I mean, we don't forget, but the audience doesn't always
Yes.
see them,
Yeah.
and well, being the co-founder of Mindvalley, the lesser known co-founder, I know the pain. But I want to ask another question about Sunny.
Yes.
You mentioned it just in passing in the book, but you just said that a little bit more emphatically about the spirituality. Somewhere in the book you write, when things are uncertain, Sunny goes and prays, and she has this ability to create magic, and then things get solved magically. Is that something you rely on your wife, or do you also have that capacity for magic? How much luck is? I know your book is about endurance and actually the will and going on, but still, since you mentioned that there is this component, how important is that, and how is it connected to the other two components? Is it connected?
Yeah, like we mentioned, it's 100% physical, 100% mental, but underneath the umbrella of that spirituality. And both my wife and I, we pray all the time. And even more during these big challenges because we know that we need it. And in fact, on day 15, when I was struggling the most, couldn't imagine doing 85 more. I couldn't bear that level of pain for 85 more days. And I found myself just sobbing in the shower, not being able to comprehend one more day. And she had the wisdom to come up to me and console me and just say, "Hey, I just need you to do one thing." And I was like, "Oh man, what?" And she's like, "I just need you to show up tomorrow and start because we have no idea when the next miracle is going to happen." And I think that's one of the gifts in life is to let go of control and understand that you're showing up every single day, trying to be the best you can be and try to have the most impact that you can. And we're not in control, and that's my opinion. And we just try to have impact and leave a legacy, and everything else takes care of itself. And it's so liberating to let go of that control for where we're trying to get to. And yes, we have to have goals, dreams, desires, aspirations, but be open to the changes, the pivots, the relationships that we meet along the way. Before today, I never met you face to face. And what a gift to do you. And who knows what's going to happen down the road. It's just opportunities happen all the time and we have to be ready for them. I heard a quote the other day. It was like, man, the harder I work, the luckier I get. Because everybody always just assumes, oh, he's successful, but he got lucky, right? And
Mhm.
man, it's just work hard, show up and believe and
Mhm.
magic happens.
So I think what is very remarkable about your answer is that you said that your wife asked you to just the next day show up and make the first step because that's when miracle may happen. And I think this is a very
Mhm.
interesting twist to the story. In fact, I want to give you guys a little spoiler about this book. While on the surface it looks about, just pushing through, pushing. There's a lot of that, of course, in it. But there are also occasionally some sentences which will make you like, oh, wow. Because it is ultimately about the dance of life, where sometimes you have to
Mhm.
push through and sometimes you have to trust and let go, which are a little bit, well, contradictory in a way. So that's
Sure.
that's what I found really interesting about this book, is because you give these situations where occasionally the answer is not exactly the same as it was, like, let's say, 10 pages earlier.
Mhm.
So another question I wanted to ask, which is maybe this is a little bit lead up to that. You talk about active recovery because we talk about, you have to push, but you also have to rest. I wanted you to explain what is that, the active recovery.
Yeah, great question. And it's kind of a skewed perspective from the audience that's watching. They just assume I'm super extreme, I'm massively unbalanced, I push my body all the time. But I respect the mind, the body, and we put recovery as a premium. I mean, it is the
Hmm.
most thing. And so a high value on quality food, an insane value on sleep. At my home, I have a world-class facility at my house. I've got a 1,400 square foot gym. I've got a sauna. I've got cold plunge. I've got a hyperbaric chamber. I've got red light therapy. I've got shake machines. I've got electronic stim. Just so many things that we value in terms of our bodies and our minds and recovery. And then the mind piece of it, meditation and grounding and yoga and breath work and uh, all of the content that's on Mindvalley is just so valuable and impactful. And so we really respect all that.
Hmm.
I want to just quickly mention, everybody's trying to find balance in their life,
Hmm.
and it's not real. We will never be balanced at all times. In fact, in order to be great, you have to come out of balance. And push
Hmm.
boundaries. And when you do that, the important piece of that is to communicate to your loved ones, your team, that, hey, we're going to go out of balance for a minute, but this is the reward on the other side of that. And the key is to not stay out of balance for too long, and then come back into balance, ground yourself again, and then get back to work. And so anybody that's trying to achieve this like ultimate mythical balance, let go of that, please.
Hmm.
And if you want to be great, like I said, you have to come out of balance, develop skill sets, learn the lessons, and then come back into balance. And so I think that's something really important for people to understand, because the moments you're seeing from our journey, we're out of balance. And then we
Hmm.
come back into balance and are very grounded and aware and present with what we're doing and who we're with.
So it is in a way the dance, as I said, where sometimes the like in different stages you need a little bit different remedies. What I want to ask is, but when do you know when sorry, I'll take a step back. So James also talks about the danger, putting yourself out in the danger, or let's say not so much the danger, but discomfort and the pain in your life. So what I wanted to ask, how far do you push? When do you know when it's dangerous? How do you make sure that you're not actually going to cause damage, which is lasting, irreparable maybe? Because you have also defied doctors quite a few times. Where do you
Mhm.
get the courage to actually push beyond what sometimes you're told, it's crazy. Um, because obviously you're doing fine. You didn't you didn't break the bones.
No, I'm doing fine. In fact, I'm thriving and healthy. I think I'm the healthiest I've ever been in my life. And a couple things here. One, there's 8 billion people in the world,
Hmm.
and we're all unique with our own perspectives and perceptions. And so sometimes experts or perceived experts maybe don't know how to give you advice on what you're doing because they don't have that experience. Nobody had done what we
Hmm.
were attempting to do. And so, how could they possibly weigh in? And yes, they can give opinions and what they think might happen. Um, and this is, I'm leading to a point here. My point
Hmm.
is, in life, we're supposed to find our purpose and our passions. And I'm finding this new generation is sitting at home waiting for their purpose and passion to knock on their door and say, "Hey, I'm here. This is what we're great at doing. This is what we should do." And the reality is, I mentioned before, looking to your left and seeing your body of work. And those are experiences. Literally, the number one question I get as I travel around the world is, how do I become more mentally tough? And the answer is through experiences. You're not going to learn what you need to learn in terms of lessons and growth by listening to Kristina and I chat today. You're not going to do it by consuming all the materials, reading my book. You have to decide to show up in your life and have experiences. And that's how you gain the knowledge to know when it's pushing too much or not enough. And like I said, the 100 happened 20 years into our journey. And so we
Hmm.
had learned so many lessons about ourselves. Sunny knows exactly how I'm feeling, what I'm doing. I gave her full autonomy to say, look, if we're ever in trouble, pull the plug, I'll listen. And if you asked her and she was sitting here today with me, she would say, I was never close. Because of the experiences that we've had together, our understanding of how powerful the mind and the body is. And so I challenge anybody listening to this, go have experiences. That's how
Hmm.
you, excuse me, that's how you find your passion. I didn't know I loved wrestling until I wrestled. I didn't know I loved golf till I golfed. I didn't know I loved triathlon until I triathloned. I didn't know I loved my wife until I experienced my wife. And so, man, the gift of life is to have experiences because that's how you learn, adapt, evolve, grow, and live.
So the question, I have a few questions that I want to ask. Let me check the time. Yeah, I have time for them. Thank God. So the one question which I wanted to ask as I was reading it, because obviously this book is about overcoming, it's about winning, ultimately winning, and going forward despite anything. But I do have a question, and forgive me if it's not a nice one. Have you
Mhm.
lost ever? Have you ever had to had? I know there are small losses here where you things don't, not small, but let's say there are setbacks, which is not specifically loss. It's not. It's the circumstances which maybe were not what you wanted, not what you expected, but the loss
Mhm.
as in loss. Have you experienced that? And what do you do then?
Are you asking if I've ever failed before?
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Yes.
You wrote
Yeah.
the book, and I'm not sure if you failed ever.
So another great question, and I'm going to answer this two ways. I'm going to first answer it by saying I've never failed before,
Mm,
but I have failed a ton.
mhm,
So many missteps, so many errors, but through that is growth. And the reason I answered it first by saying no, I've never failed before, is because I've learned that when I fail, I will take a step back. I'll pause. And then
mhm,
I will take accountability for my role in what went wrong. And then I will
mhm,
try to learn from why things went sideways. And then I will do something to utilize that skill set and that learning to erase it. And so any failure that I've had, I've replaced with learning and experience. And so
mhm,
my perspective is, yes, I failed in the past, but I don't have any failures because I've learned from them. And so they
mhm,
became learning experiences. And I think that's a unique perspective and one of the gifts that we can do. Because it's interesting, right? So let's say you're having an experience and you're feeling fear. Fear and excitement, our body reacts the same way and we have the same physical reactions. And so it's how we choose to look at that moment. And so you can
mhm.
change fear into excitement, which means you can turn failures into learning opportunities. And that's what I've
Mm.
chosen to do.
You remind me of one saying, which I don't know the origin of it, is that fear is excitement without breath. A
Hmm.
little a little thing that helps me sometimes with fear. But I guess actually I have so many questions that I sometimes start getting lost in my questions that I have for you. I'll ask them about your future plans because in the book when you discover you describe your story, you start with smaller steps and then they become bigger and more outrageous and more outrageous.
Hmm.
100 triathlons in 100 days is well, it is the world record obviously, but I know you could probably do 101 days and so on, but you're not doing that again. How are you challenging yourself now? I know you're challenging yourself with not eating for 21 days. And is it something which is your lifestyle now and something that gives meaning to your life, or this is just a hobby?
Yeah, no, I truly think it's who I am because I gravitate towards these kind of things. I always say I'm going to stop doing these, and I just find that it's actually the purpose in life. I challenge people
Purpose.
to make themselves uncomfortable intentionally, and then I'll pose this question: When was the last time anybody listening made themselves uncomfortable? Meaning, when was the last time you faced your fears and broke them down on purpose to overcome them? And if somebody said, can you do 200 Ironmans? The answer is yes. I believe I can, but I always have to ask myself two questions. What's the sacrifice or cost it's going to take in order to achieve something? And then what's the benefit to myself, my family, and my community? And if I can't make those two things align, then I'm not going to do it. And
Mm,
and what's next for me is obviously continuing to show up and push boundaries, but in different capacities. I'm
mhm,
satisfied with what I've learned physically and mentally, and I have the deep rooted knowledge that I can do anything. But it's can I make those two questions or answers align?
mhm,
And what's next for me is just getting back to full health and that challenge of pure longevity. I joke and I say I'd like to be the first person to be 100 years old to do an Ironman. I think that'd be really cool. But what's next for me is truly this kind of stuff. Like the book's called Iron Hope, and it's because people have
yeah.
lost hope. And so I really want to spread this message and get to as many people as we can to instill hope back in them, and then to help give them the courage to do whatever their version of the Conquer 100 was. And so for me, that's what's next. And it's very challenging and travel. And if I'm being honest, my what's next for me is just loving on my kids, being a husband, a new grandfather coming up, and just continuing to live life and have experiences because that's the gift.
So you were talking about balance not being possible, but you do have moments where you just, well, do not do anything. Don't exert extreme effort. Do you do that often? And if you do that, how much time do you allow yourself to just, I don't know, is the word chill or relax appropriate?
Yeah, no, I do it all the time because, I do over 70 speaking events a year.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of opportunities to just sit and chill on airplanes or be by myself in
Yes.
hotel rooms and chill out. Or I love to go golfing. That's a great escape for me. And we do family vacations and get-togethers. And every Sunday night we get together as a family and have a meal and play games and do all these things. And so, yeah, there's a lot of times where I just check out, relax, and balance. And then there's moments where it gets very intense and we're trying to accomplish something great. And that's coming out of balance. But we have a lot of joy in our lives. We have a lot of experiences. We do a lot of things as family. I do a lot of things that bring me joy. I just love getting on my bike and riding in the mountains and consuming
Mhm.
content and just having all of those experiences that allows us to relax and unwind. But yeah, just both are phenomenal. Pushing ourselves is a great experience, and also just checking out and being in our own thoughts is great too.
So how do you not get stuck in the being checked out? What pulls you back? Is it this innate need to push yourself? Because obviously, obviously, it's. I mean, the amount of things that you've done which require
Mm.
extreme endurance, it must be the need, like the need to eat or sleep, or do you also have to apply discipline occasionally?
Oh, for sure. Discipline is a huge thing.
Mm,
And I actually think discipline is just a byproduct of systems and habits.
mm,
Um, I talk about this in the book, but it's the bully inside of our head. And when we're doing something
mm,
that is extreme or difficult or new to us, I guarantee it, every person listening to this can resonate with this. The conversations we start to have with ourselves to try to talk us out of what we're doing. And when I take relaxation time, which is very valuable, if I start to sit there for too long, I recognize that I haven't heard from the bully in my head for long enough period
Mm,
of time. And early in my journey, I was trying to eliminate or silence the bully. And then I realized that's not a good thing. And I'm now really good friends with the bully inside my head. I've just learned how to communicate with them. And if I haven't heard from the bully in a long enough period of time, it means I'm not showing up in my life. And what I mean show up in my life is I believe that the purpose in life is to become unbelievable people, learn lessons we need to learn, and have experiences. And there's a popular kind of movement on social media to become the best version of yourself. We've
mhm,
all heard this,
mhm,
and I struggled with this because I had to come to the realization I'm never going to catch the ultimate version of myself because as I change and evolve, that version of the best me also changes and evolves. And so now my goal in life is when I get to the finish line and this journey or chapter is over, I'm going to bump into that individual because he's going to be there waiting for me because I'll never catch him. And I want to say to him, thank you for pushing me. And the pursuit is what was so enjoyable and allowed me to become who I am today. And so it's in the pursuit of the ultimate version is where the magic is.
mm. Thank you, by the way, for mentioning the bully in your head, because I wanted to talk about the bully in your head as well, but
Mhm.
we are not going to do it now because we don't have all that much time. I do want to encourage those who are watching this interview to get the book because James's relationships with the bully, quite interesting to read. The bully comes up quite a few times, and I think it's a wonderful conversation as well. I want to ask a few traditional questions before we finish.
Sure.
And the question number one is, if you were to give one, two, or three advices to people who are listening, um,
Mhm.
or people who, if you could give one to two or three advices to anyone in the world, what would that be? And I say one, two, three because it can be just one or it can be three.
Yeah. Yeah, great. I think it needs to start with giving ourselves grace. Realizing we're not perfect, we're going to make mistakes, and that's the point of life. And I think it's also about being hyper present, letting go of control. We can't control the future. We can control what we do today, and that resonates in a future self. But we really can't control the future. We have no idea what's going to happen. And humans find themselves in a state of catastrophizing, worrying about things they can't control. And 98% of everything we worry about never happens. But we find ourselves in that state. And so I challenge people to give yourself grace and forgive yourself for your past. And then
Mhm.
try to be as present every single day as you can and realize that today's a gift and tomorrow's not guaranteed. And so what are you missing out on by being so worried about things that will probably never happen? Um, I challenge people to wake up every single day and just express gratitude and realize that again, today's a gift and the experiences you get to have are unique.
Thank you so much for this very wise advice. And the last question that I like to ask, I'll actually ask after a while. First, I want to ask our audience to leave a heart. Now I have this microphone in front of me. Leave a heart for my guest either in the chat or in the comments under the video. Yes, thank you. And to James, I have a question. So, how would you like your book to change the world?
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching, we've lost hope. Everybody's struggling with depression and anxiety and not knowing what the future holds. And so I want to leave people with hope. I want to let them know that there's a brilliant future and you get to choose how you show up and how you navigate it. And no, life's not going to be roses and greatness all the time. It's peaks and valleys. But I think recognizing that that's the gift in life too. The quote, "This too shall pass," is
Mm.
beautiful because it means the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. It comes and goes, and that's how we feel the widest range of emotions. How can you appreciate joy if you haven't felt sorrow? How
Mm,
can you appreciate wellness if you haven't felt pain? And so I think all ranges of spectrum of emotions are important and valuable. Um, and so, yeah, that's the gift.
Thank you so much. It was a very wonderful conversation. Thank you for your wisdom and for these beautiful messages. For people who are watching us, I want to remind you once again, Iron Hope is the book that we were discussing with the author James Lawrence. And if this wonderful conversation inspired you, which I hope it did, because it did inspire me in ways beyond what I was expecting, in fact, because I really love the beauty of all your answers. So get the book. And if you haven't signed up to Book Club, do it now because we send invitations to this kind of interviews. And actually, we do also reviews of the best new releases every week. So if you want reading inspiration and if you want to meet with the world's best authors, then join Mindvalley Book Club. Thank you, James, once again for this incredibly beautiful conversation. I'm trying to come up with adjectives which actually
Hmm.
adequately describe how I feel, but I'm really touched by the depth and kindness and the love of your wisdom. I actually. I kept thinking about some of the stories from your book where it wasn't about you, but it was about all the people who you helped to uplift
Hmm.
with what you were doing. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for finding time to meet with Mind Valley Book Club.
Yeah, thank you, Christina. You're a gift, so thank you. And I challenge everybody to find that hope because with I believe hope is life, and excuses are death. And so go find that hope and live life, have experiences, be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you in a week. Bye bye.